So we can create rooms that we're not even a member of, right? We can create rooms that don't even allow us in, which seems kind of silly. If you're going to create a private room, you just want to invite the other people in, right? You don't want to have to invite yourself. That's ridiculous. So let's see about that. What can we do about that? Well, when we save a room, which happens in main, right? Here's add room. Here's where we add the room. So before we actually update state, before we even update the array, we could check if this room is public. If it's not public, then we can make sure the current user is in the list of members before we save it. So if it's not public, we can say room.members.push. And we don't just want to pass the current user because it's not actually user objects that are in there, right? It's the select options. It has a label and a value instead of having email, UID, and display name. So let me just get the user out of our props. Save it as a variable. Const user equals this.props. So I want to say label is, we can do it the same way we did down in the form, which was user.displayName parentheses user dot $sign there, user dot email, and then the important part, value, is user dot UID. So we just push that onto room.members. Then we know they'll have access to it. So we just do that before we save it, and we know that the current user is always going to be allowed in rooms that he or she created. But I didn't check if they were already in there yet. So we could use our includes current user method that we made already, or we could just keep you from adding yourself to a room because you're implicitly in the room already. So we could change that in the form. So here's a room form. Our select is down here. Where's that? Where's our select? Select options is this.users. So I already made a method for that. And this.users, all it does right now is go through all the users and build these option objects out of it. So instead, let's do this. Let's get the list of users out of props. And then let's remove ourselves from it. Then we'll loop over this user's variable instead of this.props.users. So this.props.users should contain them all. And we don't change our props. So instead, I should make a copy of that and just remove ourselves from it. But that kind of begs the question, does roomform know who the current user is? Let's find out. If you're not sure, let's pull up roomform. No, roomform does not receive the current user as a prop yet. So roomform is inside room list. How about room list? Room list, let's look here. Room list doesn't have the current user either. How about sidebar? Sidebar does. So sidebar has the current user, but room list and room form do not. So sidebar, when we go to room list, we pass in users, but we do not pass in the user. So we'll pass in the user. Then in room list, when we render room form, we pass in users, but let's also pass in user. This.props.user. So how about now? Let's find room form, user, and it is there. Good. So now in room form, I've gotten the list of users out of props. And we learned this yesterday. How do I delete a key? Delete. So just delete users square brackets this.props.user.uid. Should do it. Now, who am I? I am fretless me. So now the list only shows Gmail me. So if I create a room, me and Gmail, super secret. Let's add Gmail there. Let's create the room. It's still in my list here because let's look at our rooms. Here's me and Gmail. Members, it has both of us. It has gmail.com and davidgetfretless.com. Totally works. We're always including ourselves in any private rooms we create. And we're not allowed to pick ourselves from the list because that's silly. Cool. Always include current user in new private rooms. Or in private rooms they create. Just to be clear. Make sense?